And I guess they provide insight and steer the organisation both inside and outside of the game. And I think that those steady heads would just be reminding the players what's at stake here and trying to make sure that they are bringing their A game on this second map.
Yeah, and we've seen the implementation of those sort of players coming back into the scene, and there's no better example in the world than Khan for Fnatic, who stuck around with former teammates and his team in the form of Fnatic. And we'll just jump into the server here as all 10 players have connected, so we'll just wait for that knife round to go live. But it's so great to see those old players willing to put their time and effort and energy into developing the talent from their region and not taking maybe high-paid positions elsewhere or diverting their time and energy into other scenes, other communities. They've come home and decided that they want to help the Finnish team really excel, and that's great to see.
I agree wholeheartedly with that sentiment. I know that Natsu and Lucas in particular both have a lot going on, whether it's journalism, analysis, desks, casting. They do juggle a lot, but I certainly love watching them come back and really help this new generation of players in particular try and achieve some great feats in their career. Unfortunately for Natsu, he's in the server at the moment coaching, but he hasn't had the best run of things today. He was actually streaming earlier on in the evening, and I think he was playing with Zart, and they were up against Xantares, the Turkish god, and they were absolutely slaughtered in MM. So it hasn't been the ideal start to the day for him, but I think he'll be happy with how his team's performing at the moment as we go into this knife round.
Yeah, the knife round's always very hotly contested, but however, on Cache, it's not going to matter too much.
Yeah, that's right. Like we say, it's one of those maps I think it's can be quite even in terms of which side it does favour. Whilst we were quite open in saying that Cobblestone, I think, is viewed very much towards the T-side map and proved to be the case as Alu and co ran away with it in the second half on their T-side. I think Cache is a lot more balanced. Curious to see who will be the Dank Shanker, as we like to refer to it here in the Peanut Gallery, Australia's casting trio. We can see at the moment, Snappy showing his prowess. He's got one, gets a second as well, so Snappy doing a great job at the moment. But this will be an interesting map. It's actually in terms of how the pace has gone. It's been quite drawn out. I was just looking at the time just then because I know that this match started a little bit late because the flip side Penta game beforehand was drawn out as well. But just for one map, a 16-11 scoreline, it was curious to me to see that it was actually took quite some time. So I think the players now will be keen to get underway. Gets this match on the board, and we can see that the Wolves will have their choice of sides. They will be staying on the CT side, which was where they had more of their, or at least some success, I should say, on the previous map on Cobblestone with that individual talent, particularly with Nico. So we'll see how they go on the CT side of Cache here.
Yeah, they're going to have to work really hard here because I feel as though ENCE will be prepared on this map for their T side. They showed a very good level of strategy on Cobblestone, and they were able to manipulate that map quite well and find the picks that they wanted. Once they figured out the areas that Nico was also defending on CT, they actively avoided that one and shifted from that middle and A attack where they weren't very successful to almost an exclusive B attack and forced Nico to retake on that site, which he did once or twice, but the majority of the time they were able to get in there and do enough damage before he came in late and tried to save the round for them. But this pistol round will go live now. Copenhagen Wolves trying to draw this one up 1-1, and they will be forcing the action towards the A bomb site almost immediately with one member of Copenhagen Wolves fighting that tunnel entrance, and he will spot them all out as Alu comes through that door, opening it up, and you can see those blue dots on the radar streaming towards A because they know what's up right now, and Sunny gets the first one jumping around the corner. Taboo will trade on to Sunny, so not bad here, but SMF comes in, gets a double. Can he get the triple? He does. That's a crazy round. They went all in on that A hit. They had no regard for the fact that it could be a fake. The bomb was spotted, and they went all in. SMF doing a fantastic job there. 3 running headshots.
Not just that, you have to give so much credit to Tabu. He was actually playing in the back of that A side at quad box the entire round and actually survived. So what was in essence an A rush? That man somehow managed to stay alive amidst all that chaos. So great individual skill there shown by Tabu, and obviously SMF with the triple kills. I don't think I've seen a casual triple frag like that in quite some time. It made it look so easy. You can see ENCE on an eco around here, and surprise, surprise, charging to their death. I think we've seen this a few times tonight. Nico feasting, gets a triple, gets a quad, I do believe as well. So rolls in the Skriller as he picks up that TD. He'll be loving that. Putting that money bonus to good use as he now finds himself with some cash in hand to spare and 5 kills on the scoreboard.
Oh, I mean, that's just... It's upsetting for ENCE because you've fed the best player in their team who's basically the only chance of beating you, and you've also given him a stockpile of cash 2 rounds into the game to operate with. So it's a double-edged sword here for ENCE, and they're going to eco themselves here and move towards the B bomb site, try and open it up and make it work for them. Yuho will be the first one in, and Snappy gets a double headshot, but will get completely flashed out before trying to fight. And Stonde does take him down, as well as Sunny picking up one. Percy will actually find that headshot, but Sunny's managed to get an M4, and he's going to burn to death before he gets through. He doesn't, but this is a crazy round. Look at all the damage coming out, and in the end, a plant and 3 kills will do ENCE just fine.
Well, I think that round just goes to illustrate, doesn't it, what an eco round can really give your team. In that instance, they got a plant, they got 3 frags, they did so much economic damage. Now, we know that Nico had obviously built up a bank, but his teammates now have to reinvest into the round. It just goes to show really how much potential there is on offer. Even if you're not winning the round, you can still win different aspects of the round that set yourself up very well for the rest of the match. We can see now, obviously, the first gunroom and Pete, they've actually gone for a double AWP set up here on the Wolves side. Percy and Snappy with that AWP in hand up against that sole AWP in Stonde.
I think that just the strat that Copenhagen Wolves are running is a do what you feel like strat, and this is usually a strat where it's utilized at the back end of a half when nothing's working. So you've tried your aggressive approach, it didn't work. You've tried your defensive approach, it didn't work. You're out of ideas, so you're sort of like, well, someone go find a kill somewhere. But they've started the half with this approach, I feel, because they've got nothing to lose, as we've said. And it's really dangerous for ENCE because they can get really put off by the fact that they're being over-aggressive and double AWPing on Cache, which isn't really a known tactic. As the smokes and flashes come over A, they will commit to this A push. The smokes and flashes are good as well. As the Molotovs come in, they're going to find only one way into B, and Percy will find the bomb planter. Knows exactly where to shoot, but Yuho will jump up on top of the box. Stonde will find SMF, and now there will be trade kills coming out everywhere. Alu finds one, but before Snappy finds Zarte, the action here is just incredible. There's one more kill going towards Stonde, and now it's a 3 versus 1, and after all that, Snappy's looking to probably save his gun.
Yeah, he has an AWP. I mean, it's an expensive weapon. That's $7,300 when you take into account the kit, the armor, the flash that he has in hand, and the bomb will get planted. I think Snappy's position is now certainly one in which he's not going to be able to retake. He's been locked out completely. You can see he does jump out and actually manages to take down Stonde. Now, mind you, I'm curious as to whether he might see that as an opportunity to go for the retake. It looks as though he will, so he's moving up highway at the moment. Now, crucially, from an ENCE perspective, they do have a good crossfire set up here, and I think it's going to be very difficult for Snappy to try and move in. He spots that one, he suspects there's one at the forklift, but Ali does take him down. But when I look back on that round, the smokes and flashes and Molotovs were great. It allowed ENCE to get into the side. But Percy there, I mean, he heard the sound cue of the man who went to plant that bomb. Because there was no one in the site, from a CT perspective, taking any fights, there was no gunfire or any noise, I guess, to take away from the fact or to mask the fact that the bomb was getting planted. So Percy could just line his crosser up in the smoke and rip that bomb planter down.
Yeah, it was a really good piece of prediction there, as the smoke did completely cover the player, but as you said, he heard those little key clicks coming out on the bomb and was able to make that work for him. And now that Molotov's just going to burn down Taboo right to the end, and he'll eventually run out there. Not before Alu will pick up a double in that door area, and ENCE will swarm all over A. Percy's the last one there, and he will find one kill, pick up an AK, try and make this work for him, but I highly doubt it. No, he goes down straight away. Sunny picks up the kill. ENCE once again looking the goods. They've won that A bomb slide hit pretty convincingly, and then finished off that round pretty nicely as well.
This is what we're talking about, though, in the context of a team being able to grind out wins and take each round in isolation, because they did lose the pistol. Obviously, they won the first gun round, but there was that potential, had they lost the next round, to get money reset and whatnot. But no, by getting that 2 in a row, they've now built up their economy, and they're just now really in a strong position here as we move into the 6th round. So ENCE doing a great job, really, of treating each round with the same amount of respect. You can see Yuho there, a very, very defensive and almost respectful position as he's jumping up and down on that truck, trying to get some information and perhaps spot out any sort of aggression from a CT if there was any sort of counter boost. But it will be Sunny now, getting boosted up, the in-game leader for Team ENCE, sharing those duties with Alu. And it looks as though they've got mid in mind as both Sunny and Yuho are well positioned here to swarm at a moment's notice onto that mid area.
They are ready to swarm. The Molotov comes out from Alu, getting that vent. So there's not going to be any push, but there's a CT pushed all the way up in the A section of the map. That's a great Molotov as well. And Percy will fight, but Sunny getting enough damage on him, so the Molotov takes him out in the end. There's a CT in A main, I believe. So he's going to be the biggest opposition here, as one of the CTs is standing right in front of Yuho, jumping up and down there. He's unable to spot him through the gap, and that CT in the A main has decided to fall back. It's a good move there. Taboo getting a double. Really nice control there and transfer of his aim. He picks up a triple, almost a quad. Can't manage to fire his rifle off just quick enough. Stonde gets that trade, and now he will be in a 2 versus 1.
He has recovered the bomb as well, so he will go to plant. Now the CTs, they will hear that. You can see them actually lining up the Molotov and the flash in the end. It looks as though SMF almost seemingly doubted himself because he didn't release that Molotov, so it's allowed Stonde to back off. Having said that, though, you can see Snappy there swarming in and jumping in. Too much shooting with Stonde, so he does go down. That defuse will come in 4-2 to the Wolves team.
Yep.
I think SMF perhaps just quick changing away from the Molotov before he actually released it. That's all I can think of in that instance, because ordinarily you'd throw it towards that planting spot. But good work by Wolves, but more importantly, good work there by Tabu. That triple kill, he was having so many angles to contend with, but doing a great job of really just picking and choosing his fights and seemingly turning a 3v1 into 3 1v1s.
Yeah, you're spot on there, because he was about to lose A main control. He knew it. He'd missed that original shot on the A main guy, and after that he did a great job of continuously repositioning himself in order to take the best possible fight on. So great work there by Taboo, picking up a triple and winning his team that round. But at the moment, it will be ENCE Gaming still on the bye. We've got both teams with the AWP in play. Stonde versus Snappy in this regard. And Taboo once again opening up, but the spam will come through the wall and tag him down ever so slightly. But the advantage going to the Copenhagen Wolves. And interestingly enough, Taboo was able to take down Stonde, who has been not only big, but also the AWPer for the ENCE Gaming team.
Yeah, but I mean, curiously, the consequence of that is that now Alu's recovered the AWP, and that's not the best prospect for Copenhagen Wolves. Perhaps they'd prefer Stonde being alive based on what we've seen in recent history with these two players, but it looks as though mid is on the cards again. That's where they headed last round and had so much success, so they will head up that way in this instance. We can see Percy, though, he's put out some resistance beneath the boost, and relying on that support from Nico does give him that cover and opportunity to reload his gun. Having said that, that support that we speak of has now gone down, so it's all to do for Percy. Having said that, I keep saying, Percy doing a good job there of taking down Yuho, and ultimately, Copenhagen Wolves shutting down this mid attack.
Percy somehow stayed alive them so long, and that's really what's won them the round here. His ability to just manipulate those walls next to mid, get a kill, fall back, not be touched by that Molotov, all the while giving his teammates a chance to come back towards that area of contention and help him out. Oh, pre-fire there from Snappy is great. He picks up the AWP kill, and Copenhagen Wolves cruise on out to 5-2 in the lead. ENCE should be on some form of eco here, some form of force buy or save round, just using a little bit of their cash.
Yeah, but crucially, for the Wolves, it's not all Nico. Now, Nico has 5 frags on the scoreboard. Let's cast our minds back. He got that team down on that anti-eco round. So he's had 1 round in which he's fragged, but the other 6 rounds have been his teammates, the supporting cast, stepping up. That's what we were hoping to see from a Wolves perspective, because really it was all the Nico show on Cobblestone, but he needed a little bit more. He needed some support. You can see ENCE, they are on an eco round. It's curious to me to watch them play on this T side of case. We're seeing a lot more set executes and set strategies relying on the nades coming out from this team. Normally in the past, particularly on Cobblestone, it was all about the aim. The nades came secondary. In this case, they're using it to full advantage, trying to get into sights, and it's helped them get a plane in this instance. I don't know how that didn't connect from an eco perspective. It was all over him.
That's like CSGO in a nutshell.
It was all over him, so that makes no sense to me. But Wolves, in the end, they win the round with ease, but I mean, that plane, that's extra money in the bank of ENCE that, from a Wolves perspective, they probably shouldn't have had.
Yeah, look, it's a bomb land. Nico's just staring at the bomb, just wondering how on earth that spray in such a narrow point in the smoke didn't connect at all, and he's just scratching his head and thanking Lord Gaben for giving us such a fantastic game. But at the end of the day, you're spot on. Nico is not really doing any heavy lifting at all. If you get a quick check on the scoreboard, it's all been Percy, actually, who stepped up this map. And also Taboo, who's had a number of big rounds, as they will find one up on the boost as well. Percy gets taken down to about half. But for me, the key here is what ENCE need to be doing, and that's speeding up. They need to be doing something more aggressive, not necessarily completely rushing a bomb site, but this timing is allowing someone from the Copenhagen Wolves team to take A main control every single round like that, and really put a thorn in their side.
That's right. You see Tubby do it again, getting that early frag that you speak of, and then having that, flexibility to fall back and the safety to do so with no one there to trade that kill. You can see now, obviously, their attack on A has been telegraphed as those nades rain in over that wall. But Nico at the forklift, we said he hasn't done much so far. He's trying to prove us wrong. He's got one frag. He's taking down Sunny, but more importantly, he's stalled the attack of the terrorist. All of a sudden, they're not progressing forward. They've taken their finger off the W key. They're punished as a result. Great work by the Wolves. 7-2. Something I'd throw out there as a suggestion or a possibility to you, hint at your thoughts, would be sometimes you see teams, particularly in our region, who perhaps during their development, they put a lot of time and effort into coming up with set strategies and executes. Clearly, ENCE have done the same in this instance. They're very reliant on their nades on this map, but sometimes teams get in the mindset of they almost are too reliant and they forget that they have weapons, as strange as that might sound. They almost seemingly run to that position. They just, their sole focus for that round is to throw the right smoke, throw the right flash, not necessarily shoot heads.
Yeah, definitely. I think the team that we saw on ENCE on Cobble was completely different. They were, as you said, more willing to use their guns rather than their grenades, and this is their map pick, so that theory sort of should ring true here, because as we see Nico finally able to get a couple of kills on the board. Yeah, so with that being their map pick, they clearly have put time into CPH to develop all this stuff. So they think that this will work, and this will be the best course of action, but sometimes when you're versing a team like this in a very puggy, very freestyle, there's not a lot of structure to them, they can be the most damaging teams to a team with a lot of structure, because they just throw a spanner in the works, everything falls apart, and they're unable to really execute late in the round.
You're spot on though. I mean, as we see both ENCE and Wolves buy into this round, we see ENCE leading towards B. I can see why it was ENCE's map choice. They've clearly put a lot of time and effort into it. That I'm not questioning at all, but at the moment, it's not quite the right formula for success against a team with the structure or lack thereof that Wolves are bringing to this game. You can see Alu. God, Alu has found his way out mid. He's parted the smoke. He's found his way through to the vent, and as we see ENCE swarming onto B, it'll be SMF and Percy, making a mockery of that B attack, and really Alu there even charging through with his hand over his eyes. I mean, gods don't always need to see that. In that instance, perhaps some sites would have assisted him. Wolves making absolute mincemeat of Team ENCE. 9-2, they now lead.
ENCE have got a lot of problems here. they've got a lot of problems because they're not willing to accept the fact that their strats aren't working at the moment.
That's a good call.
And they're not taking a timeout to try and fix the problem. So in this situation, they're just not losing rounds. They're losing rounds in the same way every single time. And that is a big issue, as Snappy once again picks a player off at A with no teammate around him. So we've seen that happen so many times in A main. Now we've seen it happen in the side corridor there in the door, and it's the same round over and over again, just in different areas here.
No, I agree with that sentiment 110%. I think that when you say they're not willing to accept the way in which they're losing, I think that that's testament to that when we see these sort of set executes and whatnot round after round, and really that change of pace that we were hoping to see not quite there yet from the team. And at the moment, Copenhagen Wolves absolutely feasting. It's almost a competition at the moment to get the frags. Each of the team members seemingly perhaps even pushing each other out the way to try and get the kill. Snappy gets the last there onto his ass. Another round going in favour of the Wolves. They now bring up that double-digit first half, 10-2. Obviously, we said that perhaps it was a more balanced map, but at the moment, the Wolves aren't making it look like that. They're making it look really, really easy. I mean, even from a scoreboard perspective, the highest fragger at this point in time is Sunny with 6 kills. Yeah. That's the most. So no one's even fragging from an ENCE perspective.
Again, it just speaks to the fact that they're waiting to get their shot at these strats. They're setting themselves up, and as you said, they're taking the focus off killing people. The whole focus of this game is to shoot people in the head and get a lot of kills, and you know, it's a very fun game to play. It's a very involved game, and you should try and have a little bit of enjoyment whilst you're playing. And for me, that's always when I've got more kills than not is when I'm having the most fun playing the game. So they should probably adopt that and look to get more frags. I think, as you said, it's very easy to focus on those strategies, and they're still doing that now as Percy opens up onto Yuho, and that's another great kill. But it's a, I mean, you see what we're talking about. It's a 5 versus 3, and ENCE haven't done anything with the deaths. Like, they have no map control. They've put no pressure on anything. They're just getting picked off, and this is playing right into Copenhagen's hands.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 4-on-2 now. You can see Percy, even after he got that frag onto Yuho at mid, he had the time and no pressure on him, so he actually fell back towards the A main, got a frag there from the quad box onto an oncoming terrorist in the form of Alu, and again, no pressure on him, and he's now backed off and repositioned that AWP once again for the 3rd time. So at the moment, the Wolves are just having their way. They can frag with any weapon, any position. That's the way it seems at the moment. You can see there's up to 2 members now from ENCE, Stonde and Sunny, and you can see it's going to be very difficult for them as both, I think, members will quickly find themselves greeted with the presence of some CTs. We have seen Tabu take down Sunny, and really, I'm left shaking my head here, as much as I hate to say it, because we've just seen them play really well on Cobblestone. But they'd almost seemingly, Pete, and I'll throw out a suggestion to you as we see this round in. Do you think it would be possible that they'd almost be playing better now if they hadn't practiced the map? Because that's almost the impression that I'm getting, because they're that obsessed with all the practice and strats that they've done. If they'd come in dry as a team just with aim, they'd be getting more rounds than they are now.
100% agree. I don't think that you can play much worse than they're playing. So by virtue of that fact, anything else they could do would be better than what they're doing now, because they've really shown no ability to consistently string any sort of rounds together, not even a string of kills. We haven't even seen like someone just run into a bomb site and get 2 or 3 opening entry frags. There's no confidence. They're playing very restricted. They're struggling for ideas right now. They're running the same thing over and over again, as finally Yuho does something a little bit different and pushes through this midsection, and this aggression could finally reward ENCE. Look at this. Finally Yuho doing something a little bit out of the box, as Alu also catches Tabu after that kill from Yuho caught his eye, and they'll be super aggressive. And you can see just by changing up the style in which they played, it's just perhaps too little too late from ENCE.
Yeah, and the worst thing is, though, from an ENCE perspective, they should win this round, which is good. You can see the Wolves, I don't think they'll go for this retake, but they've got a lot of cash to burn. So as many frags as they can get, the better, even if they don't win the round. And Percy, I guess, just showing that as he does hit a frag. But some of their players, such as Yuho, such as Stonde, they were really hot. They were on fire on Cobblestone, making some really sick frags. I might hold that thought as the CTs are actually running to the site, but I think death awaits them, and that it does as Sunny gets poised. But by virtue of the fact that they've now cooled or changed their game plan and have gone into their shells a little bit, they would have cooled off by now. So now as they now try and resort to that aim style approach, we see you rushing out of mid there. The fact that he's on fire only half an hour ago almost means nothing now, because he hasn't been able to keep that going.
That's, yeah, very, very valid point. I do sort of think that it is on the individual to, when the in-game leader is struggling for ideas, it's very easy to sort of play the blame game and say, oh, you know, you couldn't give us enough direction, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, and really start to get very negative. But on the flip side, every player has to take some form of responsibility for trying to make rounds work, as Snappy does find one. It will be a B push here as well, so they're going to try and cram themselves into this B side despite all the resistance, and SMF will go down, but not before SMF won't go down, sorry, Snappy will go down, but not before SMF picks up a double, and Nico will take down Alu in that vent, leaving everything just up to one member of the ENCE team. It will be Sunny. He picks up one. Can he get the second? He can't. It's Nico getting another kill. 12-3, and that's a pretty convincing half there from Copenhagen Wolves.
Yeah, I think we've probably spoken enough and at length about what ENCE did wrong, but from a Wolves perspective, what did they do right? Because clearly they have some say in the matter as well. They've just run 12 rounds. How are they getting themselves in such good positions? What were they doing right?
I think that they, basically the best thing that they did right was not change anything. They knew what was working. They'd identified how they were winning rounds, and they continued that game plan. And it was up to ENCE to make a change to really shake that up, and they didn't do it. And it actually takes a lot of courage in that sense, because you think eventually something's going to change. You're going to have to, you know, change up your style, as the pistol round is now kicking underway. Zart picks up one. Can he get a second? He's spraying his pistol round wildly, but he doesn't go down. Zart will pick up a second, and bot god Zart will pick up 2. Yuho will finally get 1, but the plant will go down from Taboo before Yuho finishes him off. It's a round that keeps ENCE in the game technically, but there's still a very long way to go, but they'll be happy with that one nonetheless.
I think one of the greatest indicators of the fact that the game is suiting Wolves at the moment is the fact that their 2 stand-ins tonight, Tabu and Nico, are the ones producing on the scoreboard. Obviously, Percy's topping, but those 2 names in which I mentioned are right up there as well, just behind him. Obviously, Tabu is formerly of Audless or Pixel Fire. Nico are an up-and-coming talent, but when they're firing, it's really an indication that it's not necessarily the system or the structure that's working, more so the individuals and the fact that the gameplay of the opposition is suiting them very, very well. You can see that ENCE here, on an ENCE eco, they actually have a Scouts in the hands of Stonde, trying to keep that distance, but we can see that Wolves are really light on investment. Just 1 or 2 flashes, maybe a pistol or 2, and as they swarm onto A, it should be Alu feasting here. He does have a P90, so plenty of bullets with which to frag. Not as many frags coming his way just yet. Having said that, he does get a double in the end. His teammates close by, finish off the round. So 12-5, this is going very, very quickly now.
Yeah, Copenhagen Wolves actually need to be careful here, despite their monstrous lead at the moment. If they mess around too much and don't get something on the board quickly, it could go south of the border for them. But you can see Alu choosing not to force buy up there, and Stonde picking up a scout with Zart still on that Famous. So 5 AKs versus a complete mixture of rifles and SMGs on the CT side of things, which could bode well for the terrorists, but ultimately they're not too interested in pushing out, just holding back and waiting for ENCE to make the first mistake, and it is almost finding a headshot there on the mid box, but you see SMF just once again taking their time, not being any rush, and that's a great opening kill there from Nico. Just wanders out mid and picks up the danger man Yuho, so that's the sort of aggression that we want to see from Copenhagen Wolves coming into this round. Tabu's firing into that smoke at B, putting so much pressure on.
But it was controlled aggression though, not just did he get the frag, he actually bailed and bolted back at him in so quickly that Sunny couldn't retaliate from the vents. Having said that now, on second thoughts, as Nico strolls out for a second time, he is punished in the end, but Snappy doing a good job actually taking down Stonde as well. So in the end, the frags and the trading is definitely suiting the Wolves in this instance. They've now opened up this A bomb site. The bomb will get planted. ENCE now find themselves in a 4-on-2 situation, and really they don't have much money to play for. If they find themselves losing this round, it's dire straits for the team. They do lose Zart there as he jumps up and down on the electrical box, asking to be shot. Sunny, let's see if he has a different take on things. He does take a frag, so he's more willing to fight, it seems, but he still has 3 to contend with, and his position now clearly known to all 3 members of the T's, and they do have that crossfire set up, so mission impossible, and Sunny backs off accordingly.
He'll have to save this one, but really impressed with how Copenhagen Wolves changed the tempo of that one up straight away. They got Nico out mid, taking out the danger man, Yuho for ENCE Gaming, and after that, it was just so matter of fact for Copenhagen Wolves. They'd spread the map sufficiently enough to get in good position. So as soon as that first kill came out from Nico onto Yuho, as soon as those players at the other bomb sites started moving around, they died almost instantly. The other map presence was really good from Copenhagen Wolves, and they cashed in accordingly.
13-5 they now lead. You can see it from a CT perspective. Whilst they do have that gun that's saved in the hands of Sunny, who actually has a kit and a few utility grenades as well, for the most part, it's an actual eco for the team here. They couldn't afford to buy anything off the back of, obviously, not winning the previous rounds and having a few sketchy rounds before that, losing a few rifles and whatnot. We do see Yuho there, spawning out one member. Takes a lot of damage for his cause, though, so that's costly information that he's found. Also, crucially, have a lot of map territory in control as well, as Percy makes his way. I mean, does take down Sunny, so the single man on the team with a rifle in hand has already been put to death, and Percy pushing quickly out onto checkers, wanting to make sure that he kept control of that gun. In the end, he did find a second frag, but more crucially, he kept that gun under wraps. This will be another round going the way of the Wolves, 14-5, and we spoke about their ability to find ways to win maps in Counter Pit. They've had 3 1-all draws in their 4 games. It's very much looking like a similar tale here.
They're such an unusual team. We've covered so much CS between Australia, North America, Europe, in the Counter Pit League, and we've seen, teams right through do so many different things. But I haven't seen a more weird team than Copenhagen Wolves. Their ability to look so good in one round and then 2 or 3 rounds later just look like they've almost never opened the game before. It's crazy how up and down they can be, and that was displayed last map on their map choice. They had the map choice of Cobble, and they were unable to do just about anything on it at all. Other than Nico, yeah. So this is a really strange concept to me that they would then come on to ENCE's pick and play so well. They're controlling the tempo of the map. They had a great feel on CT side, and now in this round, they're continuing to pressure multiple parts of the map. You can see them actively patrolling mid and getting that control, but also not relinquishing control of A. So they've got a balanced approach to the map, and they're just doing it really well.
Having said that, whilst they do have that man advantage, 5-on-4, they have actually taken a lot of damage as well. Nico on 4 HP, Tabo and Percy injured as well. They're limping around the map at the moment, so still ENCE are definitely in with a chance this round. And actually, as the Wolves make their way back towards A, it's actually going to be met with 3 CTs lying in wait, but Percy rips the head off Stonde, just going to show how much of a pressure and presence he can be as he's topping the frags at the moment, 23 kills. And as the go-to-me skips a little bit, we do miss Snappy killing his teammate Nico, which is interesting. But in any case, it won't make a difference as Zart finds himself in a 1-on-3. The bomb planted, T's all around him. Godbot Zart has it all to do, but unfortunately for his sake and for his team's sake, he surely won't be able to do so. He's walking in without a kit. I'm not quite sure what the intent is at this stage. I mean, there's no time to hit the defuse. Extremely unlikely you would get any or 3 kills. And in the end, that proves to be the case as SMF does take him down after Zart did pick up 1. But 15-5, 10 match points. Copenhagen Wolves on the verge here of getting some points tonight.
Yeah, they're on the verge as a Windows update has just...
I'll keep talking there. So whilst we get back into Go, I'll do a bit of radio commentary here. So we'll get the CS launch back for you guys ASAP. Thank you, Lord Gaben. Unfortunately, I think we could be looking at the last round as well. So we've just seen the Go TV skip. So it'll be a race against the clock. At the moment, I can tell you that Copenhagen